I've been driving for Uber for about 2 years now. I've had my fair share of weird rides, drunk college kids, couples fighting, people crying in the back seat, but nothing like this. It's nothing that still makes me double-check my locks every night. It was a Thursday night, around 11:30 p.m. I was about to head home when I got one last request. Pick up in a quiet suburban neighborhood about 10 minutes from where I was. The profile name was just M. No photo, no rating. I hesitated, but the payout looked good. When I pulled up to the address, the street was dark, just a few porch lights here and there. I waited a couple of minutes. No one came out.
I was
about to cancel when I saw movement near a tree line on the side of the property. Someone walked out slowly. A man, maybe late 40s or 50s, thin, tall, wearing a gray hoodie with the hood up. He didn't look at me as he opened the rear passenger door and slid in. "Hey," I said, glancing at him in the rear view. He didn't answer right away, just nodded once, almost like he was trying not to be seen doing it. "All right, cool," I said, tapping the start ride button. The drop-off location was on the other side of town, near an industrial area. Not many houses there. Mostly warehouses, train yards. As we drove, I noticed something strange. He wasn't sitting normally, was positioned directly behind me, which isn't too weird. But he was leaning forward slightly, like he was staring at the back of my head. I could feel it. It's that kind of prickly awareness when someone's watching you too closely. "You all right back there?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. No answer. Just that quiet breathing, slow, measured. I turned on the radio, low volume, just to break the silence. But even that felt wrong, like I was interrupting something I wasn't supposed to. About 10 minutes in, I glanced in the rear view again and noticed something chilling. He had no visible phone, no screen glow, nothing, which struck me as odd, because 99% of riders are glued to their phones. Instead, his hands were just resting on his knees, palms up. Then I saw his fingers were twitching, like he was counting or tapping some rhythm. But no sound was coming from it. It's just a slow, mechanical movement. Tap, 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 pause, tap, tap. We hit a red light. I used the moment to check him again. His head was tilted down now, but his eyes were open, just looking right at my headrest. "Hey, man, you okay?" I asked again. "You need to change the drop-off or something?" Then, finally, his first words, "Do you ever think about how easy it is?" "What, to get in someone's car? Go wherever you want. They never even ask your name." My stomach tightened. Yeah, I guess. Background checks and stuff, though, right? He didn't answer, just chuckled a low, dry sound that felt way too close to my ear, even though he hadn't moved. I wanted to end the ride right then, but we were in the middle of a dark stretch of road, no stores, no gas stations, just trees on either side. I tried to stay calm. "And all right, almost there. About 5 more minutes, no rush," he whispered. "Take your time." I sped up a little. When we got near the dropout, some abandoned-looking warehouse with a chain-link fence, I expected him to give more directions. But he just said, "Right here's fine." I pulled over, heart pounding. He didn't move. You need help finding the gate or something?" He leaned forward, finally close enough that I could see part of his face in the mirror. His lips were chapped, pale. His eyes were, how do I describe it, vacant, but focused, like he was looking through me. "You ever wonder," he said softly, "what kind of people drive strangers around at night?" I couldn't speak. I just stared ahead, waiting for him to get out. And then, without another word, he opened the door and got out. No goodbye, no thanks. Just walked around the front of the car and stood there. Looking at me through the windshield, I drove off. Fast. Didn't stop until I was in a well-lit gas station 15 minutes away. When I checked the app later, ride history was gone, vanished, like it never happened. I contacted Uber support. They said there was no record of a ride from that area, no profile under M, and that maybe I'd picked up the wrong person off the street. But that's not how the app works. You can't even start a ride unless the pickup matches. I didn't. Imagine it. Sometimes, late at night, I still check my back seat, still feel that slow, measured breathing behind me. like maybe he never really left. I was between apartments, living out of my car for a couple of weeks, while waiting for a lease to go through. It wasn't ideal, but I managed showering at gyms, sleeping in well-lit parking lots, driving Uber during the day. That was until a driver I chatted with at a gas station mentioned this cheap motel on the edge of town. Said it was quiet, cash-friendly, and didn't ask questions. I was exhausted. I figured one night in a real bed wouldn't hurt. So I drove out there Parkside Inn, a squat, one-story building surrounded by tall weeds and broken soda machines. It looked like it hadn't been updated since the 80s. Peeling paint, flickering neon sign. But I was too tired to care. I walked into the office and rang the bell. An older man came out from the back. Thin, pale, with cloudy eyes and a slow way of talking. Like every word cost him something. One night I said, placing cash on the counter, just me. He gave me room 9, key, not a card. I remember thinking that was weird, who still used keys. I parked, grabbed my bag, and walked in. The room smelled like old cigarettes and mildew. The carpet was damp near the bathroom. A single bulb lit the space, yellow and dim. There were no pictures on the walls, just pale square outlines where something had once hung. I sat on the bed and felt the springs through the mattress. Creaked under me like it hadn't been touched in years. I told myself it was fine. One night I set my phone to charge, plugged in my portable fan, and lay down. Around 1 a.m., I was still tossing and turning. There was a buzzing sound, not the fan, not the AC. A faint hum like electronics, but wrong somehow. Too low, too steady. I got up, turned off the fan. The buzzing was louder now, coming from the wall behind the bed. I pressed my ear to it. There was something else. It's a soft sound. Like breathing, I stood there for a full minute, trying to convince myself it was the pipes. Old building, thin walls, no big deal. But the breathing, if that's what it was, had a rhythm. Inhale, hold, exhale, not rushed, not random, human. I backed away from the wall and checked the adjoining room door. It was bolted shut. I turned the knob locked. But there was light coming from underneath, just a sliver. And then shadows moved under that door. 2 feet, standing still, facing me. I froze. Whoever was in there wasn't walking by. They were. Waiting, listening. I didn't know what to do. If I'd open the door, I'd be face to face with someone who hadn't made a sound until now. Someone who might have been there the entire time. Watching through the cracks. Listening through the walls, I backed into the bathroom and locked myself in. I didn't call the police, I don't know why. I think I was afraid they wouldn't come out that far, or that I'd sound crazy. I just sat on the cold tile floor, gripping the edge of the sink with shaking hands. After maybe 10 minutes, the sound stopped. The shadows were gone. I crept back into the main room and turned off the light. Sat in the corner, facing the door. My phone had 6% battery. I held it like a weapon. Around 2:30 a.m., I heard footsteps outside, slow, gravel crunching under each step. They stopped outside my door. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. The handle turned, not hard, just a test. A gentle, almost polite attempt. Then nothing. I sat there until morning. Sunlight finally started creeping through the grimy blinds around 6 a.m. I grabbed my stuff. Didn't shower. Didn't even change clothes. Just threw everything into the car and peeled out. I didn't go back for my deposit. Didn't ask questions, too. Days later, I tried to look up reviews for Parkside Inn. Just curiosity, I guess. But I couldn't find it online. No website, no listing, nothing. I drove by where it was and nearly drove off the road. The building was there. But it was boarded up, graffiti covered, windows smashed. A burned-out shell. A police sign stapled to the door read, "Condemned since March 2021, no entry permitted. Property under investigation." It was June. I had slept there 3 nights ago. I went to a diner nearby and asked the waitress about it. She looked at me like I'd grown another head. "That place burned down last year," she said. "Electrical. Fire. They found squatters inside. One guy never made it out. I left. I haven't told anyone this in real life. I still have the motel key. I keep it in a drawer next to my bed. Some nights I hear that same low hum in my apartment walls. Tell myself it's just the neighbors. But I never stay in motels anymore. Ever. It was raining that night, one of those heavy, cold spring rains that soaks everything and makes the city feel smaller, quieter. I was working a late shift, trying to hit my weekly bonus. Business had slowed after midnight, so I was grateful. When a ride request popped up from a residential area about 15 minutes away, the name on the app was Eli. No photo, no message, just a pin dropped on a narrow street I didn't recognize. I accepted and started driving. As I got closer, the neighborhood grew darker, fewer streetlights, more trees. The kind of area where houses were set way back from the road, half hidden behind hedges and fences. The rain blurred my windshield no matter how fast the wipers went. When I arrived, I pulled up beside an old stone wall at the edge of a cul-de-sac. No house number, no porch lights. Just that faint glow from the Uber app telling me this was the right place. I waited a minute, then sent a quick "I'm here" message through the app. Nothing. I was about to cancel when I heard the back door open and shut. I hadn't seen anyone approach. No footsteps, no silhouette in my mirrors. Just clicked the sound of the door. "Hey there," I said, glancing in the mirror. The back seat was dark. The dome light didn't come on like it normally does. But I could hear breathing slow, quiet right behind me. "You Eli?" I asked. No response. I tapped the app again. The destination was already entered and addressed downtown near the river. I felt a little nervous, but told myself, people can be weird. Maybe he didn't want to talk, so I drove. The whole way the passenger didn't say a word, not one. But the breathing continued to sound natural. More like controlled breathing. Like someone trying not to be heard. Halfway there, I tried again. "Just making sure we're good to go downtown?" A voice answered this time, barely above a whisper. Yeah, that was it. One word. But what made my skin crawl wasn't the tone or the volume, it was the direction. The voice hadn't come from behind me. It had come from the front passenger seat. The empty passenger seat. I whipped my head around. No one was there, and yet I could still hear the breathing. Behind me, I felt something cold spread through my chest. I tried to think of a logical explanation. Maybe the voice echoed. Maybe the sound bounced off the windows. I kept driving, kept checking the mirror. The back seat looked empty. I couldn't see everything. It was dark. Too dark, we reached downtown. About 15 minutes later, the drop-off was at the end of a narrow road near the docks. An old warehouse converted into lofts. I pulled over and waited. The app still showed the ride in progress. No one moved. No one spoke. "You're here," I said. "Nothing, you good?" The breathing stopped. I turned around fully, trying to get a better look. But the back seat was empty. Totally empty. No doors had opened. No weight shifted. I had heard someone get in. I heard them speak. And I felt that presence the entire time. But the seat was dry. Not a single footprint or drop of rain on the mat. Ended the ride and checked the trip history. Nothing. No record of a pickup or drop-off. No rider named Eli. The app just refreshed like it always does after a cancellation, but I didn't cancel. I sat there in silence for a few minutes. Tried to breathe. Tried to think straight. Then I felt it again. Cold air. Like a draft only. The windows were up. The vents were off. And then just barely, I heard the same voice whisper, "You missed the turn," and it was right behind my ear. I didn't look. I just floored it and drove. I don't remember how I got home. I barely remember pulling into my parking garage when I got out. I slammed the door and stared at the back seat for a long time. It looked the same as always, but I couldn't stop thinking about something. When I picked up Eli, I never saw him, never heard him walk up, never saw the door open in the mirror, just heard it. I only heard his voice once, and not from where it should have come from. The next day, I checked local forums, driver groups, missing persons, anything. I found an old post from almost a year earlier. A driver described the same pickup point, same name, same breathing. He said he dropped off Eli at a building that had been condemned for months. That post ended with a question I haven't stopped thinking about since. If no one ever actually gets in, who's riding in the back?